Jesse Williams. We're live at AmFest 2025. We are in Phoenix, Arizona at the Phoenix Convention Center, and the hits just keep on coming. Joining us now on the Watchman Action stage, the CEO of Old Glory Bank, Mr. Mike Ring. Mike, welcome to the show, sir.
Well, thanks so much for having me. A big fan of what you guys do.
You know, Mike, when I got the email saying you were available, I'm like, really?
I'm always available. I love talking. We don't really do any paid media, and so the way we get the word out is through great folks like you, so I'm honored to speak to you all.
You know, Mike, we were talking before we started the interview about Old Glory Bank and really kind of this wedge that you guys have put in for freedom. So can you give us a little bit of your background and then how Old Glory Bank came to be?
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm actually not a banker. I was a lawyer for 30 years.
Yeah.
And had no idea that I was going to be a banker, and God called me, and I tried to not answer the call multiple times, and you know how this works. Eventually, you got to surrender, or it's not going to work out for you, and so I did, and I'm really blessed. So one of my colleagues, longtime client of mine, had the idea in 2020 after the Summer of Love to do a pro-America bank. We got to a spot where if you flew the flag, if you remember after 2020, that people were persecuting you. And my buddy Eric Olhausen, he's here today bopping around with us. And he said, we got to do a pro-America bank. And I said, Eric, that is a big idea, but I'm just at a good spot in my life right now. 30 years as a lawyer, had a little success. I'm about to wind down and enjoy. My kids are getting a little bit older. Maybe we'll have some grandkids. Maybe I can play some golf finally. And then God had a different plan.
He always does.
Yeah, J6 happened. We saw what Bank of America did.
Yes.
With sharing data, and then President Trump was canceled, Lindell was canceled, conservatives, people who didn't agree with the jab, people who didn't agree with COVID got canceled, debanking. And so we said, we can either sit around and talk about it, and this is about part of what you always talk about on your show. Don't just talk about it, do something.
Exactly.
And so we said, let's get together. And I was very blessed to get in front of our co-founders, Dr. Ben Carson, John Rich, Larry Elder, Sean Spicer, Governor Fallon. And we said, let's come together and actually start a bank. And so we got a bunch of phenomenal, geeky banking people doing all the work. We get all of our great co-founders out front, and they get me being occasionally on a podcast talking about it and helping with strategy. And I am a servant leader and blessed to lead this team.
You know, it is amazing to me, Mike, that we allowed, and we talk about this as believers, you know, when Juliana and I go to speak and teach, we talk about the fact that we've continued to cede territory or abdicate our role of leadership in the culture as believers, and then we wonder why there's decay. But like Gideon, like all of these things, he will call us to do things that are wholly uncomfortable, that people think we're crazy, but that doesn't matter. What matters is what he wants done. And so when I think about what you said with the history of Old Glory Bank, it still holds true. And if you're willing to take a step of faith, Father will take a step of faith. Right? That's the whole Bible.
That is so well said. And everyone who knew what we were about to do told me it could never be done.
Exactly.
And it's why we've lost half of our banks in the last 20 years, and only 8 started in the last 3 or 4 years, and we were one of them.
Wow.
Because it is so hard to do, and everyone told me it couldn't be done. And if I knew, and thankfully God called me kind of a stupid person to do this, because if I was smart, I would have never have done it. And if I knew then what I know now, I probably wouldn't do it again, because it's been so hard.
Right.
But thankfully, we've had so much success because of great folks like you getting the word out. And listen, you can open up an account, and may we say on your show that you're a customer?
Yes, you may, absolutely.
And a happy customer, I hope?
Yes, sir.
And well, we got to get your business banking, so you got to commit to me to let me earn that.
All right, okay, I'm on camera, and so yes, we're going to commit to you. We're going to do our business banking.
Well, you don't have to commit. Let me commit that I can earn it, and we will earn your business
Amen.
banking. How about that? And so we have the best products and service. We always preach product, and customer service. And oh, by the way, we believe what you believe. Oh, by the way, we love this country. Oh, by the way, we won't judge you if you don't agree with us. We won't cancel you no matter what side of the kingdom you're on, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. Because if we do, then we're no different than the big bad banks, part of the bank cartel, who hate us, who cancel us. And that's why, you know, we focus on the simple things. Product, customer service, and we've been very blessed. So we bought a little bank in Oklahoma, a brick and mortar bank, and we said, we're going to bring banking. It's always going to be in your pocket. So we say your bank's always in your pocket.
Yes.
And hopefully you like our great user interface. You can do everything you want to do. Home loans, business loans, we have debit cards. But one of the greatest products we have, because occasionally we get a little cash, and you cannot deposit cash into your bank on your phone. It's really the only thing you can't do on your phone.
Right.
So we have Old Glory Cash In. You can walk into one of 88,000 locations. Hopefully you've used it. Every CVS, every Walmart, every Walgreens, every Dollar General. If you haven't done it, you got to try it. It's Old Glory Cash In, and you can deposit cash. So all you folks out there who get tips, and thanks to President Trump, no tax on tips, you can deposit at Old Glory Bank in 7 seconds, walk into any Walmart, Walgreens, Dollar General, and deposit cash.
Amen. For me, I think one of the things that happens, conservatives, we get an idea, we say, okay, let's go do this. And then when the road gets a little tough, it's like, well, maybe we shouldn't, or it just kind of dies on the vine. I think what you just said, Mike, about, hey, we wanted to make sure the bank was in your pocket, but we also realized that you can't deposit cash. And so we're just gonna go ahead and solve that problem. Watchman action. I mean, it's in the name of the ministry. We're about, like, listen, don't just talk about it, actually go do it. And it's amazing when you stand and you make a declaration, how many people will fall in line behind you and say, I can help with that.
100%.
I can do that. You're bored.
Yeah.
Right. These great folks come together. These great minds say, yep, we can do that.
Yeah. What's really great about that, JC, is when I first went to John Rich. So I'll tell you what, God, called me to do this because maybe he prepared me my whole life to do this moment. I don't know. But like John Rich was a client of mine many years ago. So I was able to get a meeting with him again and said, hey, John, this is what we're doing. He says, Ring, I've been saying for a while now, this was in 21 when I got with him. I've been saying for a while now, we got to build the hill and run for the hills, but you got to build it. You can't run for the hills if you don't build it. And payments and banking is the most important. We saw what Canada did. That's the only way they shut down the truckers, was by taking their debit cards. And so we knew, like, what happened after J6 with that bank sharing customer data with everyone who used a debit card around DC, everyone who bought a firearm in the last 6 months. I don't even know how people aren't in jail to this day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's interesting, Mike. I had the CEO and founder of Altrua Health Share on yesterday. He said something that stuck with me, and I think this is true of what you're saying too about the banks canceling us. He said, RC, you do realize that when you pay a premium or something like that, you are funding the enemy, the one who does abortions and everything. And that brings me to the banks, because the question I was
originally... Did I call you JC a minute ago instead of RC? I'm sorry.
I keep going.
There is no colon named JC. There's an RC.
Because the question I was going to ask you is, Mike, why do banks do this? I already know the answer to that question. But I wanted to bring up the point that he said, you're funding your enemy. And I think that for a lot of people, getting the word out about what Old Glory does, because those of us who know, but there's a whole world out there that doesn't know that the resource is available. And I think what you're saying is so important. The big banks will cancel you for any reason. And the way that they use you is like, you don't realize that having your money in there, using their products, that you are financing your enemy. These people hate you.
100%. RC, sorry again about that. So
you're fine.
Listen, as bad as J6 was, Senator Grassley recently exposed an even bigger, unbelievable infringement on our rights, which was Arctic Frost. Have you heard about Arctic Frost?
Yes.
It's actually the worst. So in 2022, the fall of 2022, after Trump announced he was going to run, so don't tell me this was an attack on conservatives, the FBI sent out 400 subpoenas to 20 different banks on 92 Republican organizations, including Turning Point, including the RNC, including many of the Trump campaigns, actually suggesting that they're somehow involved in either money laundering or sex trafficking or gun running, because that's really the only thing they could do is a financial crime. And it is absurd. And what happened, every single big bank capitulated and provided the data.
Right.
Could you imagine if they sent to Mike Ring, I was a lawyer for 30 years, so I know this would be BS. If they sent to me a subpoena about you and you were our customer and everything was going well, that I would not file a motion to quash or go public and say the federal government, and maybe it was multiple people, like in this case, it was 92, I would totally come out. And what's so important, what you said about the big banks, you can never trust them again.
No.
And what happened is they all took TARP money. So $500 billion of TARP money they took after 2008. And now they're in the pockets of government forever. And if you think that's not correct, I promise you, when the next president's in who's not a Republican, when they say jump, those big banks are going to say how high.
Yep.
I have never kowtowed to the government. I'm always flying too close to the sun. I testified in front of the Senate, and I said I'm the only one standing between the government and America, and I'm not backing down. As you can see, I'm not a weak person. May get your name wrong once, but I am I am protecting America, and I will sit in jail before I improperly give up data. Now, bad actors, we occasionally get them because people think they can take advantage of us.
Sure.
We kick them out to the curb and gladly report them. Good actors, which would have been the 92 conservative organizations that 400 subpoenas were sent on, I'm protected, and I will sit in jail before I give up that data improperly.
You know, Mike, it's amazing because I want to come back to that for a second because you mentioned something about our rights being eroded. But it's interesting you talk about protecting customers. We were on with Turning Point Rise yesterday, and as you know, part of what we do is journalism. Like, and I grew up in the media business, so I know what a classic journalist and what you're supposed to do. And I said, the one thing I'll never do, and I've said this on camera, I said it yesterday, I will never give up a source. I will go to jail.
Amen, brother.
Before I will go to jail before I give up a source, because if I don't, then everything that we claim to do and to be about the truth and telling the story fairly all goes out the window. Because if sources know they're going to get burned, you're never going to get to the truth.
Amen.
And I think that that's so important to know that the guy who is running the organization says, listen, here's the red line, not an Obama red line, like an actual red line, right? That says, I will not cross this line. I will not give you up. I'm not going to do that. I will go to jail first. There's something to be said about that integrity. And the reason I wanted to bring that up, and this is going to lead into what you guys have done with Old Glory Pay and some of what you have coming now. One of the first stories we covered when we launched Rip from the Headlines, where we analyzed the news, was a story of a guy named Randall Crater, who's now sitting in prison. And they got him. They said he lied that his crypto was backed by gold. We went through thousands of pages of legal documents. The government wanted to make an example out of him. They could actually not prove that he did what they said he did.
He's in jail for structuring, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the case.
Yeah, and so we covered it extensively, right? And we said, wait a minute. The feds don't have a case. And as a matter of fact, they kept exonerating evidence out.
Well, the only thing they could get him on was structuring. It's like getting Capone on tax.
Right.
Yeah.
And what we learned from that, and what he shared with us before he went to prison, he said, RC, they're basically killing the Sixth Amendment of the Constitution. You have no right to face your accused. You have no right to present exonerating evidence. He said, what do you think is going to happen next? They're going to go after the Fifth, Fourth, and they're just going to get them all.
100%.
And he said, the thing that I was trying to do was decentralize and give people options outside of the government. He taught us a lot about banking rails and stuff like that on his own dime. He just said, you need to understand how this works. But I'm amazed because today he sits in prison having not committed a crime, and the feds go after him for something like this. So, and I want to share that because you guys are looking at this saying, wait a minute, these guys won't stop. And while I'll go to jail, it doesn't mean that they won't stop. Can you talk to us about what you guys are doing with like Old Glory Pay and some of the technology?
So this is the softball of all questions, RC. So thank you for this.
No problem. Yeah.
And listen, and by the way, this is one of the things I talked about in front of the Senate, and people laughed at me. And now, thankfully, the administration has picked it up. The Bank Secrecy Act, which was actually reasonable before the Patriot Act amended it after 9/11, now it is absurd. They basically make banks do what the government could never do under the Fourth Amendment. We have to monitor every transaction every customer does, and using our judgment, report if we think a crime has happened. And it is, the government could never do that, and they make banks do it. Now, we are very honest and fair in it, and we don't. Many banks are not appropriate, and that is how they are able to debank people. They always say it's under anti-money laundering, which is part of BSA.
Right.
So if anyone's listening out there on the political side, you've got to amend the BSA, the Bank Secrecy Act. The Bank Secrecy Act has nothing to do with your secrets. It's completely about spying, and it's one of the few things no banker wants to talk about it except for me. And I did a whole podcast on it, and it's part of the big bank cartel. It's how do they pick and choose winners. But when I couldn't get the law changed, we said we're going to do some other things, and we are creating systems to fly around. Listen, we have a great debit card on the MasterCard system. We have a great credit card on the MasterCard system. The people at MasterCard could not be better, gentle people to us and good to us. But I want complete freedom. And
yes.
I'm sorry, but we do, and our customers do. And so there's two things we've done. One is we have Old Glory Pay. It is our version of PayPal, but it's closed loop. You got to bank with us to use it. We don't let other people connect their big bank, bad banks to it. Open an account in Old Glory Bank. It takes 8 minutes, and use Old Glory Pay. Send money to anyone you owe money to, send them through Old Glory Pay. Buy things through Old Glory Pay. If you go to right now, the terms and conditions of PayPal, you cannot buy ammunition with it. You cannot buy firearms with it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How anyone uses PayPal when they won't let you buy something that's legal under the First and Second Amendment, like they will stop Christian organizations. So if you're using PayPal, you're not supporting freedom.
Stop.
Yeah, go to Old Glory Pay.
Yes.
And so that was one thing. So today you can open an account, you can send money. Right now, RC, you could send me money through Old Glory Pay. My handle is Ringer. It's really easy. If anyone wants to send me money, my handle is Ringer. I'll take it. No, don't send me money. Send RC money.
Yes,
In fact,
yes.
you could donate to your great organization. I mean,
you can.
Yeah, because I go on your website and there's a donate. You should be through Old Glory Pay. Cut out all the card fees, everything.
See, listen to this. I'm getting a real time like what I need to be doing. First Jacob got me, and now Mike's getting me. Okay, no, I'm good.
But this is not where it ends.
Yes, please go ahead.
This is where it begins.
Amen.
True freedom, financial freedom, cannot exist without decentralized finance. We have been believers in the blockchain and crypto since the start. Now, I agree, Bitcoin and many of the investment assets go up and down in price, as does gold, as does land, as does rare automobiles, whatever. So I always like to explain to people, think of Bitcoin and some of these assets as digital assets, as an investment, a hedge. Think of stablecoin as money. And thanks to the Genius Act, stablecoin is now backed by US dollars, no more backed by other coins. That's what happened to all these other companies that blew up. They were taking a stablecoin backed by another type of digital asset.
Right.
The only way a stablecoin can truly be stable is if it's backed by the US dollar. You can say what you want about this country, but we are still the best currency in the world.
That's true.
And even with the inflation and the Fed printing money, it's still the best. So under the Genius Act, only banks and other regulated entities can do a stable coin. Most banks are too slow. Most banks don't like to do the hard things, so they're years away.
Right.
Next quarter, we have our own stable coin coming. We have an entire new front end coming and there's a if you go to our website, oldglorybank.com, first open up an account, then watch some of our videos. We demonstrate it all. You'll be able to move money on and off the blockchain in seconds. You'll be able to send the US, OGB, USD anywhere in the world on the ERC-20 standard. You'll be able to take money off of ETH, off of a different type of a coin, take it out of Bitcoin and put it immediately into your bank account, no different than depositing a check. And we go out and get the best spot price for you, and it happens instantaneously.
Whoa.
It's called the OGB Freedom Address. It's patent pending. It's brilliant. Because we're so small and I'm crazy and fearless, we innovate and we move, and we have the smartest people behind us working. And so this is what I will tell you. Without a capitalist society, you cannot be free in the kingdom. And you know that, because once the government tells you how to spend your money, they tell you where to go to church. So America is the most free country in the world. It's not perfect, but it allows, once you can send money, payments, remittances via the blockchain, you're flying over the top of the Federal Reserve. It is not the Federal Reserve's business if you go out and buy ammunition, or if you want to send money to your kids, or if you want to set up a college fund. Pay with the stable coins, the same as dollars. And it should not be, respectfully, to MasterCard and Visa. It should not be their business how you spend your money. Fly over the top of the Federal Reserve, fly around the side. So look for decentralized finance coming from Old Glory Bank next quarter.
Mike, do you happen to teach a class to bank executives on how to have life? Because you should if you don't, sir.
I definitely know the big bank guys don't like me.
I figured as much.
Yeah. I a while ago made a bunch of noise. Do you remember the story that Trump, it's not really a story, like Trump came out and said, after I left office, Chase Bank, Jamie Dimon canceled my accounts. Capital One canceled my accounts. Eric Trump has written a book about this. Donald Trump called up Brian Moynihan after he was out of office after the first term and said, listen, I just got canceled. I need to open a bank at Bank of America. And Moynihan wouldn't take his business. And Trump said on the air, excuse my bad word, he said, Brian Moynihan used to kiss my ass when I was in the office, and now he won't take my business. And that's why they got into crypto. And Eric talks about it in his book. And so I called out, and Brian Moynihan got called out the very next day by CNBC and said, what is that? And he says, and he started just mumbling words, AML, BSA, such as the Trump organization was involved in money laundering or drug trafficking or any of that. So it was BS. And so I literally went on the air at Larry Elder's show, and I said, I'm calling up Brian Moynihan right now, $100,000 bet with my money to a charity of his choice. Name one regulator, show me one law that says you cannot bank Donald Trump. And he didn't return my call. Of course, still hasn't returned my call because he's weak. All these big bank CEOs are weak. They're blaming the regulators for their own decisions. We are subject to the same regulations, the same Bank Secrecy Act, and we don't cancel anyone for what they believe.
Mike, I hate that we have to cut short because we're up on time. Here's what I'm going to do. One, we're going to do this as a series. We got to have you on other TV
Would
show.
love to do it.
Crossroads too, as a regular contributor to help people understand what's going on. Mike, just in like 30 seconds, what is the one takeaway that you want to give the audience today on what they need to do? And it could be whatever you
Thank you.
Yeah.
One is in the, I hate to I hate to even mention someone's great. His name is Charlie Kirk. We're here for Charlie, but what did he say? Follow Christ, get married, and have kids. And so I want to emphasize that, because everything else we do is secondary to that. But then secondly, in order to do that and have freedom, I respectfully submit to folks, take 8 minutes, go to Old Glory Bank, open an account. And by the way, my real email, and RC will tell you this since he has it, is mikering@oldglorybank.com. It's not fake. And so if you have any questions, any challenges, reach out to me. I return my own emails. I don't have a team. I have myself, and I want to earn your business. And you are going to love, you're not going to believe that a bank that's been around for only 2.5, coming up on 3 years could be as good as we are. So give us a chance. Thanks to folks like you, we grew from 10 million in deposits in April of 2023, less than 3 years, to now 250. No one's even come close to us with that growth.
Mike Ring,
thank you
so much.
No,
for
thank
being
you.
on,
It's an honor to be on your show.
Thank you. Guys, we are live from AmFest 2025. You are watching the Watchman Brief. We'll be back.